the scores. So you know what certain critics look for if they're actually reading the score and not watching the
You can
performance.
actually close your eyes while watching an opera,
Yeah.
and you can feel the emotion through
Yes.
their voice.
Yes.
But when it's on stage and you have, like acting, I mean, you can fall asleep and you still get the
Well,
gist, right?
again, we have to remember that opera was invented a long,
Yes.
long time ago. Opera has now changed so much. There's after Callas, and then the appearance of TV. Because before you saw the opera people from far off. So of course they were going to do semaphore acting, like we sometimes do on stage, because you need to communicate. And opera houses are big, so you need to communicate to the gods, so to speak. Then TV appeared, and suddenly you couldn't have overweight sopranos anymore. They had to look like Vogue models. They had to sound really good, but look like Vogue. Now, this is because, now when they choose the soprano for the telecast, she's got to be good looking, or else really sing like a god. These things have, and because of the TV, audiences suddenly start demanding more. No, no, we've seen them on TV. They should act that small now, and they should. And that's what we're exposed to, and that's what we want. Mind you, when they do the TV telecasts, they're all mine. But when you watch it in the theater, they're all not mine. So it's
So it doesn't really, that legacy that she wanted to pass on hasn't really infiltrated the opera stage where acting and singing are seen.
I think that's what everyone tries to do. Everyone tries to do that. But I think everyone has different concepts of how to find the balance.
Then they should watch our
Yeah. Arman is now going to announce his new opera. Yes, I agree with you. We should all watch Arman. We just need funding for the opera that he will do. So there is a hat outside.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Ricky. And talking about Arman. Have you, which master class did you do that influenced or from where you pulled from in this role? And maybe for the others as well.
Actually, it's funny because I just did a real masterclass last Sunday.
Saturday.
Last Sunday?
Was Sunday?
Yeah.
Oh, Sunday.
Sunday. Saturday. Sorry.
I knew it was Saturday.
Direct was there, and then funny because there are a lot of similarities between actually synonymous talaga yung tenor with who I am here in the play. Kasi sobrang daming lines that are it's somewhat personal also, especially the confrontation with Maria Callas that I should be more than just a voice. It's very personal for me because it's also my journey as an artist. Before, it's known in the industry that I always cared for my voice. But as I matured in this industry also, I think there are more realizations now that you are more than just your instrument. You are a bigger person and you should serve the art more than yourself. So yun yung malaking realization ko. And it's part of the masterclass. It's part of our scene. That's why it's really personal for me. That's why merong isang rehearsal na even LA said na akala niya mag-breakdown na ako. Because it really, tama ba, struck a nerve.
Yeah.
Not dumb. So yeah, it's very nice kasi sometimes us opera singers, I'm not really an opera singer, I'm a classical singer. Sometimes we are so focused on how to sing that we forget that we are delivering a message. Sometimes we forget na, oh, there are lyrics pala. It's kasi minsan pagka kumakanta na kami, kailangan maganda, kailangan bongga yung high note, kailangan maganda yung line, kailangan without not sacrifice na yung meaning and the lyrics. Now, I try as much as I can to fuse them together so that it sounds good, but at the same time you feel the meaning and you feel what I'm feeling as well, and not just ang ganda ng boses. It's sana ang ganda ng boses and I felt it. So yun for me.
We'll watch it.
Confessions na yan.
So maybe
Then I'm a score.
Yes, Bel.
I think
I'm sorry.
after na lang.
Okay, Leo. 1 second. Si Bel muna.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, Bel, you go.
Okay, Bel.
My question po is, in today's creative landscape po, many artists are no longer just performers on stage or in traditional spaces because some of them are also content creators who constantly share their work and even their process on social media platforms. And because of this, there's often a dual expectation that to stay true to the integrity of the craft while also creating content that connects with or appeals to a wider audience in real time. And in relation po to the play which centers on the idea of artistic discipline, excellence, and the pursuit of mastery through rigorous critique and training. How does this play will help us understand or somehow separate the idea of performance for art and performance for audience, and or that does this play suggest that these two modes are actually separable, or does it expose them as permanently entangled in the making of mastery itself?
I'm sorry, performance for
The art.
audience and performance for art.
Yes.
The difference.
Yes. Well, how does the play separate it, or how does it use them together?
I just think those are like 17 questions.
When questions.
I got lost.
So one is people besides performing, you say there's also a social media platform where people expose their process. I think to answer that question first, I think it's very interesting. I myself look at that. If I know that, let's say I'm doing a role and this person has played the role, I'm interested to see the process, especially when it comes to a musical, of how they prepare, more of how do they take care of their voice, what is their whole process before they get to the theater. So it's very interesting, and I think it helps a lot that we see the process, because everybody's process is different. No one process is the same. It depends on what works for you. Now, in terms of art being separate from an audience, is that the question? Performing art and for an audience, is there a difference? Is that the question?
Yes, but or does this play suggest that these two modes are permanently entangled, or is it okay to separate the
Oh, you
idea
mean
of-
this play, Masterclass?
Yes.
Oh, they're definitely united, because Maria Callas does talk about art. It's beautiful, and we should, so she talks about art. She talks about art and beauty. And when you do art and beauty, it's always for an audience, whether you're a painter, whether you're a musical theater actor, whether you're an opera singer, whether you're a cook, everything is for the audience. So if you're a cook, you put the best ingredients. You don't compromise, you have a good outcome. You compromise with your ingredients, then your outcome isn't good. In the same way, Maria Callas says, never compromise. You give it 100%. She says that a career in the theater is total concentration, 100% detail. She says that. So for me, you don't naman perform in a closed door. There's always someone to appreciate what you do. But you have to give your audience what they deserve. Do not compromise. Do not say, oh, I won't give today kasi wala namang tao masyado. I mean, I heard people say that. I won't mention who. But I heard people say that. No, whether it's one person or 1,000, that one person made an effort to come and watch. You give that one person what they deserve.
It's about the social media. For me, as an accompanist, I sing as well in opera, same as them. But, you know.
But that's another story.
It's another story. It's the hard work. Okay, I'll just be honest. The technique, the hard work, the terms, passage, you have to open this and that, which you will not see in social media. Okay, it's very saddening for me. The comment sections. It's like it's easy. It's I can do this, I can do that, but
Or very critical of the
yes,
person.
but hindi nila nakikita the scene behind this. Okay, the 8 hours of learning the areas every day, the taking care of yourselves when you're performing tomorrow and everything. This, I think social media nowadays, in terms of arts, especially opera, it's very surface. Okay, I have few friends because I entered opera just last year. I just met them last year. Okay, and yeah, it's just last year. And opera is a different world. In social media nowadays, when I browse TikTok, you know, it's very saddening because the surface level ang alam nila. That's why when I read the script, the Maria Callas, it's surprisingly she didn't talk about the technique. It's the interpretations. Kasi technique, responsible is the teachers, our professors. Ang daming process na hindi na-realize sa mga tao in social media nowadays. And for me, that's very sad. As a music student, and Arman as well as Alex as well. We're all music students. Yeah, yun yung pinakamalungkot for me. It's the surface level.
Actually, it's interesting. The very first time I don't do TikTok at all. But years and years and a million years ago, when I first attended a class where an opera singer was learning, was singing, and the most amazing discovery for me at that time was, oh my God, they perspire. And I had no, they always make it look easy. And this is what isang tamales. This is maestra. And you're there and you realize, oh my God, they are working so hard. I'll never forget the tenor was perspiring. And I did not imagine it. Because they don't perspire on TV. But to see them in real life working at it.
Yeah, but that's also for musical theater. I can't claim to be an expert in opera, but in musical theater, you see the final musical. You don't know what went through the heartache, the crying, the frustration, the working it, because you don't see the process. So sometimes you don't really see the process. So sometimes I understand per se when people will post, oh, so and so was horrible, blah blah blah, and I'm like, kawawa naman, because you don't know what this person went through, and maybe you caught him at a bad performance. We're human, we're not perfect every single performance, and that's the challenge of live theater. But everybody works very hard. At least they try to give their best. So it's really social media can be, I know, sometimes brutal, yeah.
Ako with regards to social media, I think as an artist and also may presence on social media, right? I minamanage ko lang yung pinapakita ko sa audience. Because I think at the end of the day, there has to be a mystery for the artist. Because if nakita mo na lahat yung process, ano ba yung aabangan mo sa show, right? And it's also, I think, as an artist also, you have to, I'm not saying not keep it to yourself, you have to have that sense of mystery na paano mo siya ginagawa so that merong sense of wonderment and amazement and sense of parang mako-question, paano na ginagawa yun? I want to be like that, so I'll work hard. Because if you show them everything, wala na, na-spoil na, right? Like, ngayon, hindi ako kumanta. Kasi masuspoil na, di ba? Tapos, I'm just making a joke.
The reality is we didn't ask him.
Yeah, they didn't ask me. Buwan yung sagot nila mo.
Surprise you beat that.
Okay, Leo.
Hi, good afternoon. My question is for Nenju. So you touched this one earlier on that in this play, Callas is at a crossroad. Her voice is fading, but her knowledge is at its peak. So, as an artist who has flourished over the decades, what parts of her struggle? What part of his struggle with the deteriorating instrument resonates most with you?
I'm sorry, what?
What part of her struggle with the deteriorating instrument
Ah,
resonates most with you?
okay. It's funny because I also do master classes, and I was just telling Jaime, oh my God, I find myself saying, oh my God, I'm exactly like Maria Callas. Well, what resonates more with me about Callas is the idea of how she really goes into her text and really works it, the detail that she gets into. That I resonate with her because I'm like that. I'm very hard on myself. I'm very dedicated. So when I accept the role, that's it, 100%. So I dedicate myself completely and I don't stop until I know I've done everything I could. And I don't stop growing until that show closes. So that, in that sense, I don't want to say I'm like Callas because Callas is La Divina, she's a god. But I'd like to think that I am along her idea of what is being true to your craft. And so when I teach, I also teach a lot of text analysis because I think that's what we lack here. Sometimes they just really just sing a beautiful song, and I was telling them it's more than a voice. Your song is your dialogue, that is your inner monologue. What are you talking about? What are you saying? And we break it down, which is what we do here in this play. Of course, as I get older, I'm already in my 60s, the voice is not what it used to be. Nobody's voice as you get older is what it used to be. So in that I can accept there are already roles that maybe I don't think I can sing anymore at this point. So I resonate with that. But I did not get to the point like Callas, who she really lost everything when Aristotle Onassis dumped her for Jacqueline Kennedy. That totally broke her heart. And so after Ari died, I mean, to know that he was already married to Jackie O and he kept going back to her. And she kept hoping that he would come back to her, which never happened. And then when he died, well, she lost all of her living and she ended up a recluse. She didn't want to see people, she was taking sleeping pills, she just didn't want to live anymore. So thankfully, I'm not like that. So I would like to think I'm not like that. But in everything else, I would love to be close to what she was and achieve what she was. Not in the opera world, because I can't do that, but in other things. That's why I also like directing. I like teaching. I like passing on. Like Jaime and I always like to pass on what we've learned. We learned all by experience. I never studied. It was all thrown on. We were thrown on stage and bahala ka sa buhay mo, you sink or swim. We would get screamed at a lot. That's how we learned. Yeah, when I started, I didn't even know what stage right was from stage left. I was 15 years old. And mention stage right. What's that? Downstage. I had no idea. So it was baptism of fire for us coming in. Audi, Nick, Leia, we learned by making mistakes on stage. And there were a lot of crying in those days. A lot of crying. But we learned. We learned.
Oh, the good days.
I hope I answered it. Yeah.
Mango?
Okay,
Wango?
one go.
I don't recognize
After
you
me.
the best.
After me.
Hello,
I have a question for the students. I know there are 3 in the show, right? Pero si Ronald nakaano yan to. But first of all, thank you for that wonderful excerpt, Kanina. It was such a treat and really looking forward to the final version. It was interesting watching Alex Kanina acting on stage. So what was that like for you, and how was it acting in a straight play with Tita Menchu, no less? Especially, how do you act terrified, especially that you are already seasoned performers and skilled singers? What was that like?
Thank you very much.
And to she's a doctor.
She is a doctor by profession.
Yes, that's true. So this is actually my first straight play, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity, for Direct Jaime's guidance in bringing out the various facets of Sophie's character, and for Ms. Menchu. You know what? She's such a generous actress on stage, and it's just a blast bouncing off of her energy, even when
Even if I scream at you.
yes, even when I am terrified of her as Sophie. So the terror that I am drawn from is not from actually.
From Kala.
Yes. And I think we can all relate to Sophie, even if we did not necessarily go through the masterclass with a figure such as Kalas. I mean, we all relate to the experience of wanting to please our teachers or our bosses. We all relate to blacking out, even if we studied it the night before. I know I have many times in medical school. I also know that we can relate to the feeling of dealing with so much criticism at any given moment. So I think, like we've all talked about earlier, these are all universal experiences to draw through. Now, as for the singing, acting through song, I'd say that there are many ways to go about it, as one of you has mentioned earlier. I mean, there is a lot to draw from, even without personal experience, without necessarily having personal experience. There's a lot to draw from the music and the words. That is why Maria Callas harps on and on and on about using the words, because there's just so much that you could draw from, and that is the beauty of art. That is the beauty of opera. That is why audiences would go, because it's not to hear whoever it is singing on stage. It's to live through vicariously stories and experiences, even if you haven't necessarily experienced them yourself. There is a catharsis in that.
What is amazing is I guess people tend to forget, because opera singers do make it sound easy, at least the good ones, is that they are singing in another language. They're not singing in the language in the vernacular, and there is something to be said. Although I personally am of the camp that believes that opera should be something vernacular as it was composed, but there is something to be said when the music and the artistry of the singer transcend the language they're singing in, and it then hits you like a ton of bricks, or it has the potential of hitting you like a ton of bricks. I'm sorry, there was an order. There's an order.
No.
Yes, you know, give the microphone to
I'm
Marco.
gonna answer the.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is my first time working with Tita Menchu also, and Tito Jaime. Tita Menchu, Tito Jaime. No, kasi,
Maloka.
yeah, we've worked, Tita Menchu and I worked together sa mga events,
Yes.
but never in a musical or a play. Now, in a straight play. And it was so easy coming in, like super the first day, I thought it was just a reading, but it became a reading and blocking. Because we share that sense of responsibility to make the show as honest and as generous as possible. So it's sobrang easy. By second week, nag-drop script ako because Tita Menchu's eyes will just cue me for my next line. No, kasi it's all there. You just have to listen to her, you watch her, and then you will remember what to answer. Because siyempre, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin yung next line mo kung hindi naman yun yung sinabi niya, right? So it's easy to drop books with her. I'm sure hindi siya madali mag-drop book because 90% of the show siya yun. But acting-wise, sobrang dali, sobrang generous kita medyo, and sobrang intense. We have this part, yung kino-confront na ako ni Maria Callas. It was so intense na, but at the same time, after that, we felt good. Because even if it's intense, it's coming from truth, so hindi siya mahirap hugutin. So it's easy. And with Tito Jaime naman, sobrang I'm so happy that he's directing this because he's such an opera nerd. So, opera geek. So, alam niya yung pinagkasabi namin, alam niya where the opera is coming from, alam niya the background of the opera. So, it's easy for him to translate also to me. Kasi, again, classical world, na-fusion yung classical world and the musical world. And then he's also very particular with emotions. That's why merong isang scene dito na, sabi niya, take your time, okay lang may silence, which is weird for a singer like me to have silence. Kasi di ba, you just have to fill it with music, fill it with music, fill it with voice. And now he said, no, take your time. Enjoy the silence because that's what the scene means. So, ang daming discovery when it comes to doing this show because it's a straight play and I can't hide behind the music and just my singing. It's so exposed. That's why sobrang thankful ako, Tita Menchu and Tito Jaime. So happy.
Well, you're very good also. I mean, I get a lot from you. I get a lot from you.
It's not bad. We'll keep it.
So I read the PRESSCON, and it says that Terrence McNally wrote this play as an imagined account of what the. So because it's an imagined account of real people, at what point, like you decided, okay, we're going to play Maria Callas and these people as closely to the possible, or at what point where you said we can play with the characterization? At what point is it fiction in terms of approach of portraying the characters?
Oh, that's a very good
That's a
question.
very good question.
That's
One of them.
That's a
The end of Act 1 and 2, when she goes into her head.
sure,
Yeah. I think that's
But can we we'll share the answer. But the start is this is not really Maria Callas. This is Terrence McNally's idea of Maria Callas. It's it's like the Bible, right? It's everyone's idea of who Christ was and all that. There are no photographs in the Bible. So it's that I don't think we're really tied. Like I said in the beginning, I said it's not a documentary. It's not, and there are recordings of Maria Callas's master classes, and you see, oh, she did say this line. Oh, she did say this line. But Terrence McNally mixes them all up. He sees different meanings in the lines, as we also do. I mean, Menchu and I have many discussions where this line can mean this, but it can also mean that. There's an alternative. What do you want to do? What feels comfortable for you?
Yeah.
And Menchu will tell me, well, this feels comfortable. Well, no, actually, our joke is we'll try both. And then sometimes we can't decide which line to choose. So I go, okay, matinee and evening. and that's the beauty of it's one of the things that I believe in, that theater is never about shoulds. It's about a whole lot of coulds. And some coulds are more efficient than other coulds, and the idea is to look for the most efficient could to convey what needs to be conveyed. But the moment someone says, oh, it should have been like this, I don't listen, because it's never about shoulds. Or else we'll have the same Hamlet that Shakespeare had in 16 whatever. Sorry.
in terms of that, in terms of the writing style, I would think, like he said, a lot of it is taken from the actual files of the masterclass with additional bits that I think may not have been there, or she may not have behaved that way because she has real tantrums in this play. I don't think she had those tantrums in the actual, but it's really her wanting. But the end of Act 1 and the end of Act 2, we go into her head, and she hears herself. There's a recording of Callas, and she hears herself, and she goes into her head, and she talks about her past. She talks about how Ari treated her. She talks about her difficulties in life, which technically, technically the audience does not hear or see because this is in her head. And then she does that also in Act 2, and it's the Lady Macbeth, because these are roles she's played. So when she finally allows this poor soprano that she's been berating from the get-go, it goes into her head, and it's a recording of Callas you hear, and she goes into her head. and she recalls everything that's set to the music of her scene. So she remembers the great night. She remembers how it was standing in the wings and waiting to come in, and her debut at La Scala. And so I guess in terms of writing, that's where Terrence made it kind of artistic.
Very, very theatrical.
Very theatrical.
Very theatrical.
But in terms of your performance, how much of it is you? How much of it is a character you create? How much of the actual Carlos that you
Can I
use in your
Okay.
Can I answer that? I think when Baby Barreto did it, there was a whole lot of Baby in it. When Jay Glorioso did it, there was a whole lot of Jay Glorioso. When Cherie Hill did it, there was an awful lot of Cherie. And I think when Menchu does it, the same as Patti LuPone and Faye Dunaway and Zoe Caldwell, there's an awful lot of Menchu in it, which makes her performance, and I'm an admirer of your performance, absolutely individual. And I think it would be useless to try to emulate everyone emulating Kalas, because what you are looking for is individuality of the performance. Wow.
No, I remember we had this discussion. We argue a lot. That's why it's the matinee in the evening. If we can, I'll do that in the matinee. I'll give you what you want in the evening. But we do argue a lot. We do collaborate a lot. And I do say, Jaime, that doesn't work for me. This is what works for me, and whatever. But I did tell him from the get-go that this will not be a copy, or I will not try to be Kalas. I've watched her videos, I know how she acts, I know how she talks. There is an elegance about her if you see all her videos, and she does have a special way of talking. She has this kind of intonation, which I try to put in. But what I'm trying to do really is just get an essence of her and not try to copy her, because I could never copy her. And that would not be, it would not be for me to be very false to try to be the person. I mean, you can research as much as you want about the person, but the passion that goes into it, I think, is already me and how I feel about my craft, which is what I try to teach when I do teach or direct. I try to give that in. So yeah, it's basically that. I don't think I can ever be a Maria Callas.
Which basically is what the word interpretation means.
Thank you,
Okay.
Marco.
Miss Stephanie,
I only have one question for Direct Jaime. There's a lot of talk about safe spaces in modern rehearsals. An audience might react to Kala's tough love as abuse. So if there's one question you want the audience to be asking themselves during the curtain call, what would it be?
It's about
I'm sorry,
she will be abused.
oh,
Callas.
Yeah, because there's a lot
There's a
of
lot.
talk about safe spaces in modern rehearsals, and an audience might react to Callas' tough love as abuse. So if there's one question you want the audience to be asking themselves during the curtain call, what would it be?
okay. I'm sorry. I'm not sure I quite get the connection of what you said in the first half.
So
And
if
what-
an audience would accuse this thing about being abusive, Callas about being abusive,
Yes.
what would you like to tell them about that?
Oh,
I think that's the question.
yeah, because what? Wow, sorry. That's an interesting question. When you talk about the problem, the reason I'm having a hard time answering the question is I'm old guard. I do not believe the theater is a safe space. The theater was never a safe space.
Bravo!
So that's why I have a hard time. And I think you went through a bit of
Yes,
safe
we did.
spacing
We did
in
talk
your
about
other.
that.
I'm really old guard. People like Ian McKellen, people like Judy Dench are also questioning all the warnings that they put up. And my experience of safe spaces, I work a lot with younger people. I've done plays. I've done Shakespeare plays where they're worried about what the audience. Oh my God, Othello kills Desdemona. How are they going to feel? Romeo and Juliet kill themselves. How are they going to feel? It's like, oh my God, should we put an announcement? The, you know, and I wish I could be more understanding about it. Actually, yeah, but I still have to confront that reality that hasn't happened yet. Um, God, it's a really good question and one that I see confront other people in in the theater world. It's just I have never confronted it.
I think we belong, Haim and I and the rest of us.
We came from Repertory Philippines.
So it was just do it!
Unsafe
That's all we got.
space.
Just do it! All these scammers, just do it.
You're just do it. But what would be, you wouldn't be able to do Oedipus Rex because he puts his eyes out or he sleeps with his mother. And that's not safe, but the Greeks have been doing that for the longest time.
I think because yes, happened, the art should be triggering because
Yes, art is supposed to.
And make
Art
you
is
think.
supposed to be
Give your
triggering.
opinion.
Now, I would say do your research, and if you really don't want to see it, don't see it. I personally do not watch Friday the 13th movies because I can't stand blood. But that's my choice. I must apologize. I don't know if I'm answering your question the way you wanted me to. But it is a good
It's
question.
your answer, so.
It's my answer. I'm sorry. Here, you answer it.
Young one.
I feel safe here. So, I mean,
Barriers of setting arrangement or if you're rehearsing in safe spaces, because today in this age, it's kind of there's a lot of talk
Yeah.
about safe spaces,
And then you can be
then there's the
cancelled.
mentorship, and then there's abuse. Because Marika Callas is very harsh, so I'm just wondering what do you want the audience to take away? Yun na lang, parang mas madali.
That life is hard. That art is hard. In fact, you have a speech. Can you say a
The
bit of
ending.
it? No. Of course it's hard.
Of course it's hard. That's why it's so important we do it right. This is hard. Where am I? I thought I was somewhere where people were serious.
Yeah.
This is
so-
not a film studio.
Yeah. One of the things, and I'll just say it to close, but it's interesting that you say is theater a safe space because I really believe the theater is a place where the director, the actors, the writer say to the audience, trust us. We are going to take you to a different place. It may be dangerous, it may be fun, but you have the safety of your chair. Trust us. That's as far as I think I can go personally. Now, if it's an adult-only thing, it's for adults. If it's a kids thing, then we won't have decapitations.
Alex story is very good. I've seen Angelina Jolie play young Alex in Pablo Larraín's film, so I'm really excited to see this. I'm just wondering about the audience, just to poke you about the audience.
No. It's a very, very good question, and one day I am going to face that question myself. No, I'm serious, and I will think, "Allah, Jaime, you were warned." But thank you for that question.
Do you think a great artist should suffer like Alex?
Yes.
To be great?
Yes. Because you take from that. I think if you have no experience in life, it's going to be bad. I mean, how do you portray love if you've never been in love? How do you portray a loss if you've never experienced loss? So a person with so much laman can draw from all that laman, makes them a richer person.
But I don't think artists actually go around looking for suffering.
Yes. I'm just saying
Shit happens. What they do with it.
Yeah, then they have to really, because there are some people, if things happen to them, they can't perform. But so there are different kinds of people. But just to add to that question, I think in terms of being safe, like when I direct, and I think Hannah's the same, is we always create a safe space in the rehearsal hall. So I'm never abusive when I'm directing. I'm very nurturing. I really guide them. Why not? Because we grew up being screamed at. But I will be cancelled.
We are survivors.
But we do not compromise on text. If this text requires you to do something, you gotta do it. You don't wanna do it, I'll hire somebody else. So, in terms of that, kasi now ang dami namin kasi may intimacy ganito, may ganyan, may ganyan mental health. And I'm like, okay, you know what you're getting into. You know the show, okay? You can't do it, don't do it. Go away, So, you come here, ready to work. We're gonna do Romeo and Juliet, and you know you have to kill yourself. You don't give me this, I cannot, that's mental health. Then don't do it. But my thing is that's where I don't compromise. I hate it when productions get sanitized and ang linis. I'm like, what am I watching? Isn't this why is it so clean? So it's all these little compromises. Again, maybe we're old school. Maybe we'll be cancelled after this. Please watch MasterClass.
What do you mean?
It's an exchange between the audience and the actor. I mean, the audience.
Communion.
Yes. I mean, let's go to opera. When you listen and you understand, no matter what language it is, okay, and then the intonation of the singer, you cry. It's the same thing when you're acting. Like, one of my favorite arias is Only Bambino Cat. Okay? Because she's so forlorn that her father will never marry this guy she loves, and she wants to throw herself in the river. And the last phrase there is and it means Father, have mercy, okay? And you just like, you as the audience also feel that, what the actor or singer.
That's the idea. Well, honestly, I think that's my duty as a director to make people feel, to make the audience feel. Whether they, if it comes down to, if you're gonna hate the show, please hate it passionately. Feel something. If you're gonna love the show, love it passionately. But if people who are like, yeah, then I failed them.
Yeah.
Then I failed them.
Yeah, I'd rather hear, I hated that show, why? I love that show, why? Because then there's an opinion. There is an opinion. We made you feel something, whether you hated it or you disagreed with it, that's fine. That's fine. But don't compromise the performances.
Last two questions, Miss Leah.
This is just fast, sorry. I was just curious, did anyone audition for their roles or were their roles handed to them on a silver platter?
Actually, I auditioned as director.
That's the producer.
That's the producer.
Everybody auditioned.
Oh,
Yeah. And Maryland on a short list, of course, because of the repertoire. Because not all classical singers will be able to sing those three arias. So we had a short list and they all had to audition.
This is a lead cast. Very lead cast.
Yes, yes. And it's so hard to do casting. That, they should be able to act. They should be able to speak and everything. So it's really a hard casting for
And
MasterClass.
Doctora.
Yeah.
It was your first role, right?
Yes, it is.
All right, congratulations. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Hans?
Oliver.
Okay.
I'll direct this question to Jaime, so sorry I'm here.
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to know what was the creative process like? Did you stick to the script as per the player's request, or what was there creative freedom? So that's my question for you. And for Mitch, my question for you is, you kept mentioning about the word look earlier. So if you were to be biased about who do you think has the look when it comes to theater, I'd like for you to name top three on top of your head. So
Oh.
That's hard. We never dress up in the theater. Nobody does.
So Mano, what is the creative process like? I will illustrate the creative process. It is actually it's a word that I really do use. I always say I love creating with you and creating with. Someone asked me, is it easy creating with Menchu? And I said no, it's not easy creating with Menchu. It is a joy creating with Menchu.
And I love working.
And that I think this is our well. I think I did direct you in a couple more, but this is like 30 years apart. I directed her in a musical, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which I wrote a million years ago. And then, well, yeah, Chitty, but you were the lead there, and Priscilla. Yeah, but so I can't say I actually directed you, but not Lion. Yeah, you're the lead, and now, and this is like 35 years that separates. And it's still fun. It's no. It's really. I wish all directors the joy of directing someone like Mensch. It's just amazing. And I told her the other day, and this is not like what do they call that? Admiration societies. It's not that. But she makes me good.
Only because
She makes me.
So I was just 2 years old.
Okay, Oliver. Sorry. Oliver, you're right. First, happy 25th POC. I have a long history in POC. Even before people was not handling the PR, nung panahon analog pa, I have to go rounds in the offices of different media outlets as to other baskets. It was just the infancy of internet before. And POC helped me also pursue my dream to attend my master's at NYU. So they really helped me raise the funds because it didn't, because I chose partial scholarship from Fulbright. Yun, that page truly helped. Question for POC, 25th anniversary. Why don't you pick a full-scale opera for your 25th? And just choose a smaller depiction of opera through masterclass. And secondly, generally, I'm not so aware of this, how is the opera industry adapting to artificial intelligence?
Intelligence.
So, yes, actually it's our 26th now because we are doing this 25th anniversary as a finale. And why masterclass? Because our problem really is the audience development program. I mean, bringing in audience to opera. So, as I've said, that's why I think it's the perfect finale. Because masterclass is like attending a masterclass 101 for opera. And we really need to tap the students, the new generation, to appreciate opera or classical music and the process. And also with teachers. That's why we have a share show program also for teachers that someone will adopt a teacher so the teacher will be able to watch this production. Because ang lalim ng problema ng Pilipinas when it comes to music because of the MAPE system. Before, we used to study music with 1 hour, arts 1 hour, but now with the MAPE, it's all isang klase na lang siya. That's why the ones who are teaching music are either PE teachers or math teachers. Yes. That's why ang lalim ng problema talaga. So, one parent approached me before and then sabi niya na, you know, my daughter is complaining because the teacher said that they're studying Mozart. And yes, a
Mozart. I forgot. I think chart.
no, it's
Mozart.
Mozart. It's Mozart. And then so this teacher doesn't know anything about classical music or doesn't know because there's no material in teaching classical music. And to tell you, opera is already part of the curriculum of grade 9 and 10. And it's so funny that the example for opera is Carmen. And I said, bakit naman pok-pok ang ilalagay mo? So, may magic food naman ang lahat. So, because they don't do anything. So, nasaan na? So, yun na, they don't have the modules. So, it's really a big problem. Because, okay, let's listen to Mozart. And this one, this is a symphony from Mozart. Okay, listen. That's why classical music is equal to boring.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to promote it because of that first experience. And the first experience is very important. I have a story. My husband is a businessman who doesn't have any culture in his blood. We're ahinan yan. So during our sama ka to. Nalaglag ko ba si Jen? Hindi. It's a true to life story. And it's an awakening for me. So during our honeymoon, I brought him to the Met in New York for him to be able to understand my world. But unfortunately, the only production that is shown there is Fidelio. Beethoven. So I brought him and I said, wow, ganda na experience ko. Lahat. Ano pa kami, orchestra. So the opera started. You know, Fidelio, it's such a boring opera. No, for a first timer. Plus, their production was minimalist. So what happened? Natulog yung asawa ko the whole time. So now, it's so hard to convince him to watch POC productions. Because during opera, it was boring. That's why we do a lot of out-of-the-box productions, small ones, to be able to make the audience feel that opera is fun. It's not a highbrow thing. It's not that fat lady sings on stage. Wala na yun. So I tell them that, it's like watching a musical. It's different now. It evolved. So, that's why Philippine Opera Company is now really focusing on the audience development program. We do a lot of outreach shows. We go to the public schools. We go to Togdo. And what I did, we had a partnership with CCP, and they told me that, Carla, why mo ba gawin talagang grassroots yung opera? I said, I love the challenge. So when we went to Tondo, and it's so funny that, I don't know how they study because there's a palengke on the first floor and there's school on the second floor. Tapos mga teacher nagmamanicure, so sabi ko, wow, it's really, eto pala ang Pilipinas talaga. So what I did was, I really made them part of the show. And ang unang sa akin, sinong kapamilya? Sinong kapuso? Hindi siya, na sila. So they were already engaged. And I changed the names of the characters of the opera to Enrique Gil, to Liza Soberano, so they will be able to understand and, maintindihan na. And then we also did an opera inside an opera. And then there was also we have to teach them the soprano, mezzo, tenor, blah, 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 blah. And soprano, there are different kinds of soprano. There's a soprano, there's a dramatic soprano. So there are different kinds. So there are music clips also. So at the end of the may games kami, parang sa showtime na merong soprano, mezzo-soprano, tenor, baritone, and bass. They will listen to a clip and natatakbo sila kung saan. Siyempre, yung doon is the counter-tenor. Because counter-tenors, they sound like soprano. So doon sila magpupunta sa soprano. Pero siyempre, merong smart na pupunta talaga sa counter-tenor. So it was fun. It was just a 45-minute show, but the question and answers, it took us 1.5 hours. So there was an interest. It's the bottom line really is the government support. Because, can you say that again? So really, it's really government support. Ang lalim ng programa talaga with MAPE. And
Yeah.
Yeah, what is MAP? What is MAP?
Music arts.
Music, arts,
Yes.
yes, all together. That's why we got a really small amount of grant from the NCCA. Small. And we did a workshop for the MAPE teachers. I was shocked kasi ang lalim ng ano nila, sako. Sabi, imagine, Carla, we have to teach Western music. We have to teach opera. Sabi ko, my God, that's already a master's degree. So how can you teach music? And plus, with public school teachers, they don't have instruments in their schools. So sabi na, how can we teach music without any instruments? So we had keyboards here, and my God, it was the first time for them to be able to touch a keyboard. So I've been rallying to the government for grants for the MAPE teachers. And also, I wanted, during 2015, I really wanted to close with the opera company, to tell you frankly. Because I had a hard time promoting opera. And sabi ng mommy ko and dad ko, okay, take a leave and go to the US, muni ka doon. So I was at the vicinity of LA Opera, and I asked the ticket sales, the box office, sabi ko, how are the ticket sales? And then he said, actually, it's not good. The singer was popular, but the material wasn't. The next day, I had a meeting with LA Opera, and I told them my predicament. I told them, I really want to close the company because I'm really having a hard time. And then they said, don't worry, Carla. It's a worldwide problem with the opera companies. And the only opera company that's really making money is the Met. Kasi syempre lahat ng mga wheels ng mga sa kanila, di ba? So, what you have to do is reprogram your company and focus on the students. You do a lot of programs for the students. Why? Because they're gonna be your next ticket buyers. And every time we do workshops, even in the public schools, I always emphasize, you are our future. You are our future of ticket buyers. Because let's come on. Ang galing na natin yung sistema or discipline of complimentary tickets. Because we will not survive if we're just giving away tickets. So that's it's focus on the audience development program. Because it's so easy to produce big opera productions. But the problem is, meron bang manonood? And bottom line nun, are you fulfilled? Kung meron kang production, pero wala namang audience. I hope I answered that.